Baie keer het ons gesien, dan lê hulle in die kuile soggens vroeg. Dan lê dit dat die hele skool vis is wat bo op die water lê, so baie vis was dit. So dit was nogal baie.
Mysterious species in this African land, man. Africa, respect, I. 26 days ago, we committed to the idea and the mission of trying to find sandfish in the Bido River. The first week or 10 days, the river was still cold, the water was still high, it was still very much a winter feeling in the Bido. Then after that, it started warming up, and it was amazing to get a call from Leonard that the first adult sandfish had moved into the Bido River, and the next morning we saw them for ourselves, and they were as beautiful, as majestic, as badass as we'd hoped, and way more. There's been 5 years of drought when I'd imagine it's been tough times if you're a freshwater migratory fish in this part of the world, and this has been the first winter that there's really been good rains, and I think that is really the trigger behind us wanting to be out here as much as possible so that we have the best shot at witnessing this incredible natural phenomenon. Onderbekvis.
This is Jem. He's a scientist. This is Otto. He's also a scientist. But they both like to make films, mostly about me. I'm a sandfish, and my name is Onderbek.
Onderbekvis.
I live in the Cederberg, South Africa, the world! I've had a few problems along the way, like all my rivers drying up, an alien fish! And now only have a few friends left. But there's this really cool project that involves
Science! Film!
water!
With our powers combined, this is Saving Sandfish! Onderbekvis.
In this episode of
Saving Sandfish!
we continue the quest for spawning in the hope of meeting Onderbek se kind.
So there's a group of like 20 big sandfish right in the shallows where this little side channel comes into the main channel.
What was that?
A while back, 6 of them moved down to right at the where the riffle starts, and they were lying in the current there like this.
Onderbek's in the acacias, just hanging out, getting a bit more frisky in the warmer water, waving their increasingly red tails, getting quite excitable and hoping to be there when they decide to spawn, but it looks like they are just waiting for the right moment. I think we're getting Onderbek fatigue. It's starting to set in. It's a real thing. We've had a whole bunch of people join us over the last week, and Riaan is the last of them to leave. So now it's just the Fishwater films massive, and we're going to see if we've got the endurance to stick around for the spawning. Day 24, we're feeling pretty energized today. We were reviewing some of the video footage, and in and amongst these feeding sandfish, we noticed this fish with the swoosh of its body suspended a bunch of these glowing, unmistakable sandfish eggs. So we're almost certain that the riffle just upstream from that pool is where they've started spawning, and we are going to go and have a closer look and see if we can find some of the eggs that we picked up in the footage. Dude, it's a bunch of eggs that have just kind of precipitated out, and it's beautiful. They kind of get disturbed by the current every now and again, and they float up, and then they kind of settle down. So cool. Like all the material, all the DNA, all the information for like one of those magnificent Onderbeks is all tightly bound up in this little clear globular circle of life. Absolutely mind-warping.
It's so big.
How big are they?
Quite like that, quite big.
How many can you see?
I think that's it. Are you just counting or you?
6.
See how they're circling around. Same group we saw yesterday, same place, chilling out, biding their time. The only question is, where are these dudes and dudettes gonna spawn?
So Jem's been at the riffle where Leonard saw the sandfish spawning last night, and I'm stationed out at Riaan's riffle. I saw 2 pairing up in the cobbles just above the riffle, and they went side by side, backwards, tails out of the water, down the current. But that rush of adrenaline has passed because it's gotten absolutely quiet, not a sign of a sandfish.
You see me fly, you know they'll never catch me for it. You see me fly, the way I put my finger on it. You see me fly, you got it.
Got amazing news from Jem. Dude, what did you see?
What an amazing hour of Onderbek craziness. So at like 4 o'clock, all the fish from the pool basically drifted down to the tail, and then their tails started drifting down into the little riffle just downstream from that pool, and just these red tails going down. And then you would just all of a sudden see this like, and then they'd be gone. Incredible to witness sandfish spawning in the Beto River. I honestly didn't expect that this would happen, but now that it has, pretty amazing.
So we've come to Leonard's pool where he saw fish spawning in this little tail out here, and then down this whole rapid, and then Jem came out last night and he saw the same thing. We're hoping they're going to spawn again, so this will be the 3rd day in a row that they would have been spawning. Already have some footage of their tails coming out of the water as they move down backwards, but to get a shot with eggs coming out of a fish would just be the cherry on top of this incredible experience, so we'll see what happens.
Onderbek.
You seen them, Jem?
Not yet. Ons soek die Onderbek. Oh, there they are. Wow, you might want to get a top side of that, bro. Hovering like a foot off the sandy bottom of this pool that they've been in for about 2 weeks now. Hanging out here during the day, feeding, resting, and then in the evenings heading 100 meters down to the bottom of this pool and clicking into spawning mode.
Onderbekvis. Ek woon hier. Peter Gullet. Meer krop. Onderbek broei.
Roystad in die riffel, die Onderbek het gevoel.
No, stop it! It's this far until the sun goes behind the mountain, and the last 20 minutes has just been Onderbeks drifting down into the wild, wild west of the Bedo River, which is this bubbly, bouldery riffle. It's kind of stressful on the documenting front, you know, we're doing our best, but we only have so much card space and so much battery space, and we're putting cameras out into the river and trying to leave the scene so that the fish feel comfortable and natural, and then just leaving the rest up to nature. So cool to observe the whole process, which seems to involve these groups of fish displaying, putting on their dancing shoes, and then just drifting down into the fast water, onto the dance floor, and strutting their stuff to their own music. Look at that, 2 fish, big fins right out the water, backs half out the water, right next to an acacia tree, next to the thorns. Unbelievable, look at that right there. I hope that had battery. It's on like 30%. What a sight, eh? Onderbek flapping its Roystad all over the dome port. So beautiful having that knowledge that there are these fish just laying hundreds and hundreds of eggs, fertilizing them in this like river that's still alive. The migration's a fraction of what it used to be. The river no longer flows all year, it's dry for most of the year. Somehow these fish have found a way to survive. It's a smaller group, you know, but they're there doing it. I can see their fins sticking out the water. Thank goodness we got the Lexa professional. Imagine we got the amateur. Onderbekvis. Onderbek. With all this amazing footage that we're capturing, this window into the private lives of the Onderbek, we're still searching for that special moment of the release of the eggs from the fish's body out into the environment, out into the riffle. And we've really got one more chance. They've been doing that now for 5 evenings in a row, spawning. Tomorrow there's cold weather, more rain, so this is probably going to be it. We'd imagine that after this, those fish will drift back down to the Doring and they'll leave those eggs, which are now fertilized, which are now lying on the bottom of the riverbed with those tiny little beginnings of the next generation of Onderbeks starting to stir in the yolky sacs. How cool is that? There must be thousands and thousands of eggs here. So these eggs, like, they seem to be a little bit sticky. They're kind of sticking together in groups. I noticed in the water they seem to be kind of heavy, you know. They drop down and settle on the stream bed. You can see here there's the clear outer part of the eggs, and then inside there are the little baby embryonic sandfish just starting their development. Some yellow ones, some see-through ones, some grey ones. Very cool. Even in like the late afternoon and the dusk, the fish were quite wary, but almost as soon as the sun went down and there was just that like slight purple glow on the horizon, they seemed to just let down their guard and become a lot more relaxed, and it became a lot easier to get really, really close to them. You just hear these splashes of fish moving up the riffles, arriving in like super shallow water, these milky clouds of fertilization exploding all over the place. It's like a Hufflepuff of eggs and milt and bubbles and tails. At one point they were like swimming around my feet, spawning within a meter of me, and I had to actually be careful not to disturb them or step on them or anything like that. There's such a rhythm to it, you know. There's periods when they're just lying there and like re-energizing in the slower water, and then you can just see that female lunging forward and the males are on her, like snouts right up against her, chasing to be the one. And then it transitions into this phase where they're kind of all pulsing together, like they've all just become this one ball of vibrating fish. So I was shooting with burst mode, where the camera takes lots of images one after the other. So the hope was to try and get that cloud of milt and eggs with the fish in the frame with the right amount of strobe light. And it was only like afterwards when I looked through the images and I saw there were one or two frames there that really did capture that moment, and that was a serious mixture of like relief and ecstaticness. It went on 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock. I was exhausted by 11:30 at night, and when I walked away from the riffle, they were still going. So it must have gone deep into the night, maybe even into the early hours of the morning. That's a sandfish. There he goes. Oh my gosh, they're tiny. Like 2 centimeters long, little fork tail.
Baby Onderbek, 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 baby Onderbek, Onderbekvis. This is epic. Thanks, Finn. Helping us find the Onderbeks.
Daar sit nou die klein baba sandvissies. Dit is klein en so. Kan jy sien, die ou mondjies wat so gaan en so. As hulle so, hulle moet so klein skooltjies by mekaar. Dit is te interessant om dit te sien. Is niks vir hulle nie.
Die ander visse wat die klein visies opvreet, is seker maar een van die redes hoekom daar minder vis is. En dit kan ook wees as gevolg van die droogtes. wat nou minder waterkuile is waar die vis kan in die somer bly, want die rivier is nie standhoudend nie.
With the combined pressures of drought and alien fish, the future for sandfish looks bleak. But to really understand the gravity of this situation, we must travel beyond the Beeder to the heartland of the Onderbek. On the next episode of
Saving Sandfish!
The Saving Sandfish crew embarks on an epic journey down the mighty Doring River to see what secrets lie in wait.
Onderbekvis.
Yes, today.
How many kilos?
I would say that's as big as Leonard's one. That is a massive, massive fish.